Why do we come to church tonight in the dark? Why this night and no other nights? We also come to church in the dark on Easter Eve, but there aren't usually as many of you on that night. What is it about Christmas that means we want to come to church and to be here at midnight to usher in the new day? If we were living in some European countries, we'd be going home after this to our Christmas dinner, of course. Réveillon, as the French call it. I remember my first French Christmas in New Caledonia at the age of 13, going to church at midnight, and before we went, we did the French tradition of putting a pair of shoes under the tree, and when we came home from church, the presents were all there on our shoes, and I still to this day do not know how my French parents pulled that off. Maybe coming to church at night seems more magical. The candlelight, the joy of being with friends and family, the sense of expectation is heightened. Maybe there's something too about claiming the darkness. We heard in our gospel reading tonight, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. John, the gospel writer, proclaims with confidence that light shines and it cannot be overcome. I don't think I was ever really afraid of the dark as a child, but I know lots of children are. And we're cautious even as adults of walking alone in the dark. We have security lights and street lights to help us feel secure. In the apartment building we live in, the lights never go out in the corridors. And in our city, the lights never go out. If you really want to see some stars, you know that you need to get far away from the city. So tonight, we embrace the dark. And we've lit the Christ candle on the Advent wreath, where we've been lighting one candle a week in the countdown to Christmas. Each of the purple candles on the wreath represented for us 1 week of Advent, and each candle has a meaning attached to it. The first one we lit for hope, the second one we lit for peace, the third for joy, and the fourth for love. They're all Advent themes that lead us up to tonight, up to Christmas. And the candles bring light, and the darkness doesn't overcome them. Hope, peace, joy, and love are not overcome by darkness. The world this year has felt like maybe it could be overcome by darkness. It will be hard to say whether this year has been more dark than other years. Every year has its tragedies and its calamities. Who's to say one year is worse than another? I guess it all depends on how close you are to the particular sadness or darkness. Parisians will be feeling in need of lots of light after those terrorist attacks, and the thousands of refugees spending their first Christmas in the cold of Europe have gone there seeking light and hope. Closer to home, our child poverty statistics are pretty dark. But simply turning the lights up, more street lights, more security lighting, more candles, doesn't actually bring about change. What we need is a different kind of light. The kind of light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness doesn't overcome it. Thousands of years before John the Gospel writer wrote those words, storytellers passing down the story of creation, passing it down from the memories of their foremothers and forefathers, they had said the same thing. They said, in the beginning, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. Most creation stories from the cultures of the world speak of the coming of light as essential to the beginning of life. Our own Aotearoa story of Rangi and Papatuanuku, the sky and the earth must separate to allow light to come to bring forth life. John the Gospel writer's poem or hymn of the coming of the Word begins in that exact same place, with light. And the light is literally light that shines, like a candle or like the sun. But the word in Greek, phos, for light, can also mean understanding, or enlightenment, or truth. Biblical writers always use words with layers of meaning to encourage us to peel off the layers and wander about in their writing. So they say the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. But they also mean understanding shines in places of ignorance, and the darkness has not seized it. So tonight in the dark, we seek light, and we seek understanding, and we seek wisdom. And this light is not just a light as bright as the sun to blind us and banish the darkness. Instead, it lives alongside the darkness, like night and day. Both were declared good. Barbara Brown Taylor, who's an American writer, has a book that she called Learning to Walk in the Dark. And in that book, she recounts being taken to a cave by a friend so she could experience real darkness, absolute darkness where you can't see your hand in front of your face. And in one cave they go into, before turning off her headlamp, she spots a sparkly stone full of light. And it's just a little stone, and so she keeps it as a souvenir. But when she gets home and she finds it again in her bag, it just looks like a piece of gravel, just a grey piece of gravel. And she says, I've learned things in the dark that I could never have learned in the light, things that have saved my life over and over again. So there is really only one logical conclusion. I need darkness as much as I need light. Now, we don't want life to be hard, and we don't want suffering for ourselves or for others, but we know that from dark times in our lives can come learning and strength and hope. To bring about change in amongst the darkness of child poverty or the refugee crisis requires spending time listening and learning with those people. You can't just magically make it go away. It requires us to spend time in the darkness so we can find out how peoples and governments can work together to make change. We can't magically fix those problems, even on this, the most magical of nights. But rather, with the strength of the light within, we can face the darkness and together listen and work and bring about change. Jesus' journey into our world began in the same way as each of us, in the darkness of the womb. There's an early church tradition that says Jesus was born in a cave, which is entirely possible if the house that the family they stayed in was built against a hill, and the section for the animals would have been against the hill. He was born into that cave. He was born into the quietness and darkness of a humble home with family and animals around. His journey ended in the darkness of a tomb, which was also a cave. And then light broke into the darkness, the light of new life, the light of resurrection. And so we gather tonight in the dark of a womb, the dark of a cave, the dark of the night, the dark of creation waiting for that first light. And this darkness is good because God has created it so and created it safe. We know there is much in the world that is not safe, much in the world that is sad and wrong and evil. And so we have come this night to seek the light that was created at the beginning of time, and the light that was born that first Christmas night. The light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it.